Hi, I'm Rachel McLeod. I'm a mental health therapist and emotional wellness coach, and I help people do the brain work for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. And the brain has a wonderful way of really resolving symptoms, making them end, bringing them to a stop, and really creating a ton of growth and mental health. And so that's really what I help people do. And today, what we're going to talk about is the title of this is Ask This Question to Be More Effective When Resolving Symptoms of Anxiety, Depression, and Traumatic Stress. That's what we're going to talk about. I want to introduce you to this question. I am the developer of a program. This program teaches people how to resolve symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. I walk all my clients through it, and this helps to guide them through what we're doing. And I'm giving you a little backdrop about this one question and why this is coming up. So the program helps them to really build the skills for their inner world, and so that by the time they're finished, not only have they done a lot of work in their healing journey, but they're better trained than most therapists in this work. And so that's a big statement. And it's just so successful that I'm in a place where I'm really about to begin training therapists in my work so that there are more people doing this style of therapy. And as I'm doing that, I'm mentally in the back, like, how do I teach therapists to think like this? How am I doing this? How am I thinking like this? And so that I can develop this training program, right? So this question popped up recently. I've been asking it in my head a lot, and I kind of caught it, and I'm like, there you are. This is the question that has really transformed my practice. It is really the one that I am constantly thinking about when I'm working with different people, because different people, their symptoms present very differently. Within oneself, symptoms present very differently. I have, in my own inner world, caught panic, and I would have never thought that was panic. Um, but I'm like, sure enough, that's panic. No wonder why. And so, but when I'm working, I'm really constantly thinking about this. And I've been working with clients and really asking this, having them answer this question. I thought, you know what, this is a great question. This question's at the top of how I'm going to be training therapists in the future, because it's foundational. And if you can get this one question, there are so many great things going on here, and I'm going to talk about those. Because if you're asking a question, oh, I don't think I've laid enough foundation to nerd out yet. Okay, let's go. Here we go. We're going back into this. Okay, let me tell you what this question is. And before I go in defense of these questions, because you're going to hear this question and it's not going to be exciting to you. It's not. It's going to be like, oh, that's a no-brainer. Okay. Some of the most powerful things we do are very simple, and sometimes we miss them because they're so simple we don't even think about them. But this is one that is so simple that it's not very flashy, but it will make your brain do the right thing. And it will make this whole thing go so much smoother, and it's foundational. So please, when you hear it, try to be impressed. Okay? Um, because it's impressive. Even though it is Captain Obvious at the same time, but okay, so here we go. The one question that you can ask to be more effective with resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress, whether you're a therapist or you're doing your own healing work, you're a self healer, or if you're supporting somebody that is one of your loved ones or a friend or somebody that has one of these issues or is dealing with these symptoms, is wanting to resolve these symptoms. This is the question. And that question is, what is this? Right? What is this? What is this? What is this coming at me? What is this that this person is saying? What is this symptom? What is it? Um, and so really, because and I'm going to freeze frame right here to open up here. Um, if you don't get the right diagnosis of this symptom, is how are you going to get the right treatment for this? And there's a different treatment for a different strategy for racing thoughts than there is for, um, I'm thinking maybe there's just one treatment. That's my brain validate this, Rachel. Um, but there's okay, so there's a difference between a different strategy for racing thoughts and resolving subconscious programming that's off, or that's harmful. Um, and so, sorry, I need to grab this over here because it's distracting me. Um, and so if we're, and the other thing, one of the other thing that's really important here about this question is if you can get this question on, if you can ask this question, that means you're doing a front brain activity. The survival system never asks this question. And what happens in a symptom of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress is that we're in a survival state. And so if we can get to a point where this question comes up, our front brain has arrived to the party. We want the front part of the brain and the higher level reasoning in this. And that's how we know the front brain activity in these with symptoms is how we know we're in the healing process. Um, so so one, the question is really good to bring oneself for the purpose of just bringing oneself out of or beside the symptom, right? Repositioning ourselves with the symptom as opposed to having it all on us and we're just riding the symptom ride, right? If we can get ourselves to ask, what is this? Now we're right beside it. And so we're repositioned. And tons of the strategies for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress that work really, really well are about repositioning. And so I'm going to write that word down. I like that. Um, I say it, but I'm just going to make sure it doesn't get away. Um, and so that in and of itself, and that repositioning puts you one foot in the symptom and one foot out, and that I call that the healing stance. I teach this stance a lot to people and strategies to get yourself in this state. Because really in that place you can do so much transformation work. This when people get into this healing stance, I will have them use an intervention, which I teach in other strategies because we want to walk the brain through its healing process, right? I'm not going to really get into that in this one, but I talk about that a lot, and how we can manually operate the brain's healing process and say, hey brain, this symptom right here, let's heal it. And so we can team up with our brain to guide the brain to finally and fully process that symptom. So back to this great question, what is it? Um, so another thing for therapists, sometimes we're in sessions and clients are bringing us all these issues. Sometimes our clients are living them out in the moment in sessions, and sometimes it can be really easy to get triggered and you go into a survival state. And so here you are, you're trying to do therapy with somebody and your brain is like, what are we going to do? What are we going to say? Oh my gosh, I don't know if I can help this person. I mean, survival stuff, right? And so therapists, we have survival states as well. And really, if we can train ourselves to, what is this? What is this? What is this? We can see behind the stuff. This can become really hot. I have had a handful of clients that will get triggered and attack during sessions. They'll come after me, right? So, right. And my system could be like, we're under attack because I am, right? I'm in the hot seat. And it could be, and I could trigger, but because I've really trained myself to, what is this? This is interesting. This is the current brain function right here. This is what that brain thinks is appropriate right here in this moment. And why? What is this? Why is not that fabulous right here in this moment? It's what is this? Right. And it could, and what I would, in those situations, we're in a survival state. We got a survival state. We're in fight mode. That means that their brain is perceiving that something is dangerous here. What is it? What's dangerous here? Right. And then my brain is looking for it. And then, and then a lot of times that'll queue up and then we'll find that thing. And during this whole process, my clients are pretty awesome with, they will be processing because they know that this is they have post-traumatic stress. They could be entirely angry with me for no for no present reason, but for all the reasons in the past. Like their brain is like, this is our time to unleash all this rage and anger, and here we are. They have awareness of this, so we're still teaming up together. And they might know, and I might know that I actually have done something that I need to that it has triggered them, or that it wasn't appropriate, or it was a hit and miss, or it was something accidental, right? I reminded them of their mother. I reminded them of their father. Something I did, right? Happens. Um, and so, but if one of us can stay on track of what is this, a lot of times we will find that thing. And a lot of times it is. I made a face. I was listening. Whatever it was, it reminded you of your parent, and now you are full of that symptom and that unprocessed emotion and distress that has arrived right now for healing and processing. Right now, if I in that moment was like, oh my gosh, you're being so mean to me, we could do the whole dance from your childhood, right? I'm sure you've done that 3,000 times. Like, how is that even effective if I also am like, no, like we're here for your brain function, right? And I love it. If your brain thinks and has the confidence and security to do this with me, what is it? How fascinating, right? And a lot of times people will be so ashamed and horrified and mortified. I've been there. I did this one session. I was learning EMDR, and we were doing when you're learning EMDR, you have to be the person that does the eye movements, with the little wand. You have to be the observer, and then you have to be the client. And it was my turn to be the client. I behaved very badly and defensively. And that poor therapist, I would not do what she told me to. I was like, I don't know you like that. And I don't know if I want to do this. And I just threw, and I was inside watching, and I was like, Rachel, calm down. And I was just like, no. And I'm not going to do no float back. I don't even know. You're not even saying the words right. I mean, I just was out of hand. And the teacher had to come over, the guy, the mentor, whoever they are, had to come over and like kind of like wrestle me down into not really, but like she was like, get her eyes moving now. So my eyes are moving, and I'm fighting this poor therapist on the other end, right? And so and then I she floated me back into this memory, and in there I am pissed. In that memory, I am so angry, and that memory was coming through in this moment. We had hit that place where my brain would use the present moment to really bring up that same emotion from the past. And so I absolutely got to do that healing work, and it solved a major issue for me. And I was like, okay, go EMDR, and it unblocked an area of my life I was working on. I was like, well, let's see if this EMDR thing works for this, right? So, but in that time, it's like we could have asked, what is this? And the answer would have been, she's in a flashback, right? Rachel is in a flashback right now. This topic is making flashbacks happen for Rachel, right? And so that experience really informed me that so much. Flashbacks are real. They're powerful. They're happening under our noses. We can't find them sometimes, and we can't find them because we don't know, right? And so, but if we're asking, what is this? And as a therapist, that's one of the things I'm doing, is that we're talking about stuff, but I'm asking, what is this? And then I'll say something like, I think what this is I think this is a flashback. And then we'll go and because there is a strategy for flashbacks, I've developed a strategy for flashbacks. And so we will use that strategy to find the root issue, the memory coming forward right now, and we'll get that processed. And then they're like, oh my gosh, wow. And then they're seeing how flashbacks work. And so now the next thing we know, now they can pick up flashbacks. I think I'm having a flashback. And because I'm teaching them how to resolve flashbacks, they'll resolve that at home, come back and tell me all about it, and the shifts that they were able to make because they have been able to properly discover and diagnose a flashback in themselves and how their brain does flashbacks, right? Because flashbacks can be different. Flashbacks can be emotional. They can be just the emotion comes upon you. Sometimes we will say the things that occurred in the moment. So they can be verbal, they can be auditory, they can be smells, they can be like all of a sudden we're just smelling the same thing we smelled over when, right? And And so all these things are happening, right? And it can be so complex, but it's like the question is, what is it? And sometimes in sessions, I teach strategies for this because it really is a thing. This is actually one of the first strategies I teach is how to, sometimes it's like there's a whole pile of things. And so you want to get them in categories. So we're going to divide and conquer all these things. And what happens here is that people get really good with category one, whatever that is, category two. And then there's strategies for category three, whatever that is for them, what's showing up for them. Some people come with tons of racing thoughts, right? And not a lot of panic attacks, right? Some people come with their system is fiery on the panic, right? We need to have great strategies for panic, and we need to resolve panic. That's what their system, that's I call that the energy, the emotion, that their system is having the most difficulty processing and handling. That means that the system doesn't have really great subconscious programming for running and utilizing panic energy. Panic energy is real, right? And we want to get good at handling that because the better we are at panic, the more we can get that, our brain can convert that faster and faster into growth and wellness. And I have tons of things to say about that, but that's not why we're here today. So, um, also, different things. Also, people, if you don't understand what you're dealing with, you create all these things that you do that aren't effective and make the problem worse. Um, a perfect example is pity. People will come in having a whole pity party. Um, this is great. But then they feel all the shame because I'm just so selfish. I'm so self-absorbed. Yeah, that's not, um, that doesn't fall, self-absorption doesn't fall into my exact categories here of strategies. We could make one, but what is it? If you're self-absorbed, what is that? Is that a defense strategy? Are you running a defense mechanism? Is that, um, what is it? Right? But in this case, in a pity party, this is a pity is a bit of grief. It's mostly grief. It's a pain response, and it's on the spectrum of compassion. It's just on the uh, a dysfunctional opposite end as compassion. And so the more that we process that, the more it turns into compassion. Our brain will take pity and make compassion. So it's like people try to stop these pity parties, but it's like absolutely not. Like, let's help this pity party get converted. Let's complete the pity party stuff. And that way the brain learns how to use this energy more and more effectively. And so, what is this? What is it? And if it is self-absorption, is it because of pity? Great. We're going to take the pity and we're going to work through that. And then we're going to come back and look at the self-absorption. What is it? What is this made of? Right? That's another question. But if you can look at this stuff and you can decide, oh wait, this habit is a defense strategy. Oh, it's post-traumatic stress. It's subconscious programming I developed, or it's a generational pattern. Now we're talking, right? And so the more you practice this, the better and better that you get. If you're a therapist, you see this all the time, and it's one of the best things you can provide your clients is to help them get the right diagnosis about what is this symptom, what is it, right? Is it fear not processing? Tons of anxiety is about fear. Oh, it sounds like there's unprocessed fear here. Okay, what is that? What is the unprocessed fear? Okay, oftentimes it's post-traumatic stress. So that you're kind of seeing what we should do, which path to take. And so it's a really clarifying question. It's great brain work. It's a great way to reposition yourself. It's a great way to put yourself right beside your client instead of in front of or in back of. It's like, I think this is, and you can check with them and they're like, yeah, this is that. And so now we're partnering and helping them really understand how their brain works. And then when they start having success with that thing, now they're like, oh, this is fear. I know what to do with that. And pretty soon as they go along, it's less and less. Oh, there was some fear there, but mostly I was, and we're just off and running. We get better and better and better at these things that we practice, and so if we can have successful practice with something, we're winning. And so that successful practice is really dependent on, do we have the right strategy, and do we have the right diagnosis? Do we know what this is? And I'm using the D word here, diagnosis, really casually, right? I mean, and not in like, do we have the right disorder? Please also have that. That would be really helpful. But also just in what we're doing everyday life, right? If you're trying to make cookies, and you've got a bunch of flours, you need to be able to diagnose which flour is the flour that you're looking for, which is sugar, which is flour. That way you can make the right concoction. And all of our symptoms are made of very specific things that we can really, if we know what it is, we have so much opportunity to be more effective and resolve issues pretty powerfully. So um, I really would love to even go off on this more. I have a client, I'm going to say one more thing. I have a client that's having a relational challenge, and her partner is doing some very strange things, right? And we could sit back and we could be like, oh my gosh, no, he didn't. And this and that, and this and that, and this and that. But really, it's like, what is that? Like, he's doing this each time. What is it? And at this point, I'm suspecting, there's some abuse. There's tons of things that are not, that are absolutely things we could work on, that could come to light, and actually, we'd have the clarity we need to make the decisions, instead of what we'll do without the clarity, we'll internalize it and make it all about us. And it was never, because what it is something very specific, right? If this dysfunction we're seeing is because of childhood abuse, that has nothing to do with, they like you, they don't like you, right? And so when we get that right thing, we know what to do. And this is some of the work as we use interventions and help brains get more and more clarity. And this is why I don't tell my clients really what to do in their lives. I don't, because I don't know what they should do. I just know we need to get the brain function on. But as we do that and they get more and more clarity, which is what brains are constantly doing, when they're able to process and go through their clarity creation process, and brains have this, all of a sudden they know exactly what to do, right? It's not just, well, I don't know, but I'm just going to go do this, you know? Um, and some of us have had to operate like that our whole life. So we're actually kind of okay, good at that. But we're not using the brain how it needs to be used. And there will be so much better things coming out of that. It's making life so much easier. Um, so I encourage you to ask that question. I also encourage you to have an intervention at the ready. I want to invite you to trial three. Let me teach you three of my favorite interventions. I have a free program for this. I put that link in the description section. Jump on there. Let me teach you my three favorite interventions for helping the brain walk through its process for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. And and then if you would like me to walk you further down a path of learning what is this, and then when I know what it is, what do I do with it? That kind of training, that's what I offer in my program, Inner World Transformation. And that's the same program I use I walk my own therapy clients through. That's the program I use to with my coaching clients. This is the tool I empower people so they know where they're at, they know what they're doing, and they can do the powerful work it takes to really get their brain to resolve symptoms and create wellness. So if you'd like to follow that, I have an online self-study program, and I'm also available for some one-on-one work with that as well, some coaching or therapy if you're in Oregon. So having said that, I'm gonna go. All right. I will see you again next time. Take care. Bye.